Hey guys, what's up? RossDunneIE. Um, I've been a lazy shit all weekend. I haven't actually been a lazy shit. I've been the opposite of that. I'm trying to get my house in order. It's fucking garbage. I live in sort of southeast Ireland, um, and if you don't pay attention to it, shit like damp and mold will really work its way into your home. And the building I live in is quite old as well, so if you don't pay attention to those things, it really fucks with the house. And whilst I don't really have any problems with my breathing, it bothers my girlfriend. So I'm trying to be less of a piece of shit man child and get my house in order. So that's kind of one of the reasons I haven't been about for the weekend. Um, so a couple of things happened that I want to maybe say something about. The Canada managed to elect a new prime minister, Justin Trudeau. I could be fucking his name up. I probably am, but he. I don't know an awful lot about his policies. I do know that he has a stance specifically against Gamergate, uh, citing the usual reasons that anyone in any sort of position of authority or reason would disagree with Gamergate, misogyny, etc., etc. Um, Spent a good amount of the weekend um, in my free moments absorbing some content from Joe Rogan's podcast. And have you noticed that Joe is, if you're not, if you don't watch Joe Rogan's podcast, that's fine. I think he goes through way too much UFC shit. I only pay attention to UFC when Conor McGregor fights, like 90% of all Irish people. Um, but I find that he does an awful lot of UFC stuff and he has a lot of comedians. I'm a comic geek, so I like it when he has his comedians in. I like it when he has Doug Stanhope in. I think Doug Stanhope's a fucking legend. Um, but a lot of the time I can't be fucked to watch Joe. But he's been working his way through um, the major proponents of what we've just been discussing lately about regressive leftists. He did Milo, he did Stephen Crowder, and he did Gavin McInnes. I don't know whether his name is actually McInnes or McInnes because in Ireland McGuinness is literally MC and then Guinness Guinnes. But his name is McInnes, so I don't know. I'm gonna say McInnes. Um, Joe pointed out some pretty interesting things. If you are a libertarian leftist right now who's having an argument, or sorry, if you're a libertarian on the right, or at least somebody who's picking this sort of fist fight with quote unquote social justice warriors, um, you're probably religious. I guess it comes with the territory of sitting on the political right. And what I'm finding a lot of the time is ideologically the major differences between people on the right who are libertarians. And I don't mean don't tread on me people. I mean actual sort of, libertarian minded individuals. And people on the left who are libertarian minded. Mm, just appears to be atheism and Christianity. It's a weird thing because again, you're sort of seeing people. I think that's why, like Joe Rogan, doesn't like to identify himself as something, but I think he definitely sits on the libertarian side of things, and he's having the people who agree with a lot of his ideological narratives in, um, except for fundamental things like faith, etc. But to my point, he had Gavin McInnes in there, and how do I call somebody? How do I say that somebody is a piece of shit while also not a piece of shit? Like Gavin McInnes is a piece of shit, but I agree with him on a lot of things. It's very peculiar shit. He's a challenging dude to sort of like Steven Crowder. I don't think Steven Crowder. A lot of people come down very hard on Steven Crowder. Um, I don't know why. I don't think he. I don't think he's particularly folky. I mean, again, he toes the line for a lot of sort of basic right wing ideological viewpoints, but I don't think he's that bad. You know. Anyway, Gavin McInnes. Thoughts on him? Piece of shit, but also not a piece of shit. Doesn't matter. Moving on a little bit, the whole fucking Twitter tag about Star Wars. Nobody actually cares that a black guy has the lead role in Star Wars. Nobody fucking cares. The Twitter tag was started as a joke, or at least I'm convinced it is. In fact, I'm pretty much convinced that somebody sat down and said, let's start tweeting on this hashtag to see if we can get Salon to write a stupid fucking article about it. And guess what? Salon wrote a stupid ass fucking article about it, which was predictable. You know, people. It's funny because it starts as sort of a false controversy. It starts as a joke, as a honeypot for idiots and racists. And both idiots and racists have actually appeared out of the woodwork to jump straight into the honeypot. Nobody actually cares that the lead role in the new Star Wars film is a black guy. I think people care about the content of the character. It's nonsense. Nobody's going to give a shit. If you actually do give a shit that the lead role in Star Wars is a black guy, you're a fucking baby, man. Like, I mean, you're just a boo-boo crybaby bitch, realistically, if you want to fucking think about it. I mean, who the fuck gonna care in 2015 that you gonna see somebody on the screen with a weird skin color that you don't, not even that weird anymore, you know? I don't know. I don't think people actually care that the lead guy on the new Star Wars movie is black. I really don't believe that they do. I think it's a funny Twitter troll. I think it's actually really clever. And I think it's good. Another sort of bullet point, I suppose. Bernie Sanders is probably going to drop out of the Democratic race. I'm predicting that. Like, I'm not like the biggest sort of ideal predictor of political events, but Bernie Sanders is probably going to bow out sometime within the next 5 months. I don't even think Hillary's going to pick him up as our running mate. I think it's possible, but I could easily see him stepping out of the field now. And I think Trump's about to get his shit slapped by the GOP donor base, massively funding a campaign against him. I don't like Trump. I like his brand. I like his grandiose bullshit as much as the next person who likes to spectate. And I find a lot of the time that people whose positions I agree with a lot of the time seem to think Trump is fucking great. He's an authoritarian asshole. He's actually an authoritarian. People seem to forget that when they're swept up by his charming rhetoric, which also, you know, charming rhetoric. Frogs have charm, I guess. So I still think Trump's going to drop. I still think he's going to peace out at some point. I actually don't believe that he's going to get the GOP nod. Although I don't think Jeb's a strong contender. I really think that you're going to see Hillary in 2016 get the presidency. I could be wrong. You know, I'm not a fucking authority on this. But I do follow this sort of stuff closely. And yeah, I could see that happening. Anyway, so I'm not dead, is the point. And it's a brief ramble. I've got an itchy fucking nose. That's really fucking annoying now. Anyway, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. I'm just trying to fix up my fucking house. And really, news-wise, commentary-wise, there hasn't been a lot of interesting stuff. I think what I might do is start finding stupid BuzzFeed articles and just shit on them. You know, I'm not running out of content. It's just been a dry weekend. Nobody's exploded or nobody's decided to melt down. But anywho, that's an update from me. I'll be back to more regular programming as time goes on. Like, comment, subscribe. See you later.